Good morning.
Good morning. So what day is it today?
October the 3rd.
October
Right.
3rd, 2021. And our topic today is finding the way forward, upgrading your belief system. So I'm going to begin with a reading by Ernest Holmes, our founder, and the title of it is God Within Me is Truth, Beauty, Harmony, and Wholeness. And the Bible quote is from Job, and it is, "The Spirit of God hath made me." Divine perfection is already within us. Being forever perfect and complete, we need no reunion with God, because God already is in our every act, every thought, every movement. God is in our every plan, purpose, and performance. The divine presence within us creates every circumstance and situation we have ever experienced. We've called these circumstances and situations things in themselves, but they never have been. They have been the fruition of our thought, and our thought has always been dominated by our beliefs. By our use of the law of freedom, we create either bondage or liberty. Not that bondage really exists, but the possibility of using freedom in a limited way exists. The restriction is not in the principle, but in our use of it. If limitation were a thing in itself, we could not change it. But since it is merely an experience, why not use our imagination to enlarge that experience? When we do this, we'll find the life principle within responds just as quickly to a broader outline. Whatever we mentally see and spiritually comprehend, we may objectively experience. For the divine presence within us is not limited to any one experience. It is the creator of all experience. So say, if you want to, this affirmation with me. Today, my eyes are open more widely, and I look out upon a broader horizon. Across all the experiences I may have had that were limited or unpleasant, I now see the rosy hue of a new dawn. Letting go of that which is little, I now enter into a larger concept of life. Dropping all fear, I entertain faith, realizing that every form of uncertainty is seeing only in part. I open my spiritual eyes to that which is wholeness, which is greater and better. And so it is.
Beautiful.
Amen. So we wanted to address the way forward. You know, we are in a transition time, and we are finding the way forward. We're finding the way forward after or during, however you want to look at it, pandemic. And we are questioning, should we do things the way we've always done them, or is there a new and different, better way? And what would that be? What would that look like? And do we fall into the fear of, oh my God, what if this happens, if that happens? There's a lot of fear around climate change. There's a lot of fear around the government and whether it will hold or need to be propped up. All those things can have us dwelling on the negative what ifs. And so our talk today is examining our belief systems about that, about our whole life, and how can we upgrade them? How can we upgrade them to be in the positive? I just want to share one quote today, and it's from the Buddha. And he says, to enjoy health, happiness, and peace, one must discipline one's mind. What you think, you become. And so I know that we're sometimes powerless over circumstances that we find ourselves in right now. And we may even be saying, but I never thought, I never wanted to do this. I never wanted to experience that. Well, the law of life doesn't work that way, but it does tend to do tendencies. And so we have to look at, what was I believing that may have allowed this to happen? And what do I want to believe instead?
Well, I believe that I'm a creative person, and I believe that creativity is a very important part of my life. And I went to the drafting table the other day, which is where I do some of my creating. And I decided that I wanted to create something. But what I noticed was the drafting table had a lot of things on it that needed to be either moved, removed, or thrown away entirely. And I thought this is a great metaphor that the place that I use to create is covered with other things that I've either created or want to create, or that have been created and then they're left on on the drafting table. And on your mental drafting table, the question is how much litter, how much clutter do you have on it, mental clutter that keeps you from that creative opportunity? What I did is I went to the drafting table, I looked and I thought, I don't know if I'll have time to clear everything off. Maybe I'll go back and do it later. And I realized at that point that I will often put off creativity because of things I need to clean up that I haven't cleaned up. And I'm thinking it's time for us really to take a closer look at the kind of thoughts we have, and do they need to be cleaned up? Do they need to be altered? Do they need to be thrown away? And I think for a lot of us, there's an awful lot of clutter in our mental lives that we don't notice, that impedes and makes us tired, makes us not want to do anything at all.
Mm, mm. We watched a movie last night on Turner Classic, Turner Classic Movies, which we referred to before, but we watched it all the way through, and it was
Harold and Maude.
Harold and Maude, made in 1970, 71, something like that. And the music all the way through it is Cat Stevens, and so we're playing his song, "If You Want to Sing Out," as our music today. But as a matter of fact, the clip that will accompany the music is from the movie. And it was just so delightful because it showed a young man who's, maybe 18, I don't know, 18, 20, who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And he has no freedom whatsoever. He is controlled by his inheritance, his mother and the estate and all of that. And he just spends all his time trying to kill himself or enact attempts at suicide, because he is so miserable. He has no autonomy. He feels he has no choice. And then he encounters Maude, this 79-year-old woman who has,
to my thinking, is quite young now.
Yes, as a matter of fact, and has total freedom. She has total freedom. And she just does what she wants to do, and seeks joy and fun and saving trees and things like that all the time. And she is such a model for him. She's such a lesson for him in what it is to be free, what it is. And so it has nothing to do with how much money you have.
One of the best examples of it, just so telling, is that he falls in love with her, and what's not to love about her. And he gives her a piece of jewelry, and it has something inscribed on it, and it's really very beautiful and very personal.
Harold loves Maude.
Yeah, Harold loves it. It's very beautiful. And she says, "Oh, thank you." And she throws it. She says, "Now I'll always know where it is." She throws it in the water.
In the ocean.
Yeah, in the ocean. I'm thinking, isn't that amazing to think how much have we been given that we're holding on to, that's holding on to us? And what she is able to do is to hold on to the principle, or the idea, or the affection, the love, the kindness, without being attached to the thing itself. And that separation between the things in our lives and what they mean is a critical difference. And I think something to give attention to. We often also attach a lot of value to the things around us. And because we attach value, we don't necessarily see them. The best example I can think of that is that people call a lot of flowers weeds. And I don't know who decided when they're a weed and when they're a flower, but the weeds don't know that. And the thing that weeds seem to have in common with nature is the ability to survive extraordinary.
Tenaciously.
Yeah,
yes.
so here we look at this tenacious organism that is fighting for its life, that is succeeding. I mean, that's a weed. And we disqualify it because it's a weed. I've had the same thing said of pigeons and seagulls. Oh, they're everywhere. Well, that has nothing to do with their value or their beauty, but we discard them. We dispense with them. And so we're looking for the exceptional, the extraordinary, or the wonderful and amazing, and we stop seeing the amazing and extraordinary and the wonderful in the little things and the things that are actually in front of us.
And what I noticed about Maude is she never said to Harold, no, or that's wrong, or don't do that. He told, when he falls in love with her, he says, "I'm in love with you." And she's, "Oh, that's wonderful. Go do more of that." Do more of that. don't stop with just me, just start loving, and it was just wonderful, and always with a beautiful smile on her face. She just was so affirming all the way through. And it really gave him the freedom to be him and to find joy.
So we
This
need
time he didn't have to rebel.
we need a Maude in our life to give us that freedom. We need to
Really?
create our own Maude. And another piece of this, we're dealing right now on the planet with a lot of issues of sustainability and pollution and being able to create a world that works literally for everyone. And that can be a heavy burden or a wonderful opportunity. And the first thing that occurs to me around that is that we're not in this alone, that we're in this together, and anything that we do affects everything. I'm reminded of what I learned recently, and I think I've talked about it before in the forest, when what I didn't realize is that the old trees support the young trees by giving them the energy that they need until they can get enough sun on their own.
In the root systems.
And through the root system. And that the trees appear to be separate, but they're really not, they're really one. And I think we appear to be separate, but we're really one. So when we free ourselves up from judgment, we free ourselves up from making that person wrong or putting them down or being aggravated with them, and allow ourselves to embrace them in their wholeness, something happens. And something happens that it's really the opposite of pollution.
Right. So in part of my examining and upgrading my belief systems, what I do now, instead of worrying about the earth changes and the climate changes and what's happening, I just really celebrate when I hear something on the news that is happening on a small or large scale to make that better. And so I celebrate that our car industries, our auto industries are dedicating themselves to creating just electric vehicles by, I don't know what year, but some year in the near future, which is fabulous. And yesterday I was really surprised. I heard that, and this concept is called regeneration. So that's an idea for us to look at in our own lives. What do we want to regenerate? We've created before. What do we want to create anew? And I learned that Walmart, of all companies, has committed to the restitution of 50 million acres. What did I say?
Restitution.
Well, I wrote restitution. So, but at any rate, they're restoring 50 million acres of land by 2030.
And they're going to cover that entire area with them all. No,
no trees, trees.
Oh, trees. Okay.
And that they have also gotten 3,100 companies to agree with them to reduce emissions by 2030 by 1 billion tons. That's a gigaton. That's huge, to get the companies to agree to that. And another goal that they have is they want zero waste in all of Canada and the US by 2025. So this is 2021, that's by 4 years. And by waste, we're talking about garbage. I'm guessing is what he means by waste, that everything gets recycled and not piled up in our piles. So that's to celebrate. I'm delighted. I'm just delighted to hear of that on a big company scale. We need our big companies deciding, and our countries deciding to do those things. And then we need to bring it down to our own level and say, what can we do?
But when you change anything, you change everything. If you've ever seen any old time travel movies, one of the things that they talk about is you have to be very careful we don't change anything, because when we change anything, everything changes. It changes the entire future. I think we don't realize that we are actually living that experience. That is, when we change our mind about something, there is a change in the universe, even if it's not very perceptible, but nevertheless it is. I'm reminded of a man who saved a baby in the fire from a fire, and years and years go by. That change, that one activity, that one course of action, not only saved a life, but it changed a life too. It changed the lives of the people that were related to this young man or this young boy. Well, fast forward 30 more years, and that person becomes an EMT and saves the fireman who's having a heart attack and takes him to the hospital and saves his life. And they get to meet afterwards and realize, you're the one who saved me. And the answer is yes, and you're the one who saved me. And so, the old what goes around comes around in a much more profound way than we even, I think, often think about, is that our actions, whatever they are, even just in thought, are altering this universe in favor of us or not in favor of us, depending on the quality of our thinking.
Sorry, I'm just distracted.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome.
So I had a thought, but I guess I'll have to have another thought. One young man shared a story that when he was a kid, his dad did this. There are lots of leaves in his area in the fall. And if you've ever lived in an area like that, they can just take over. And so the neighbors were all burning them, and that was really polluting the air. So his father offered to all his neighbors that he would collect the leaves and bring them home and create a big compost pile so they wouldn't have to burn them. And the reporter said he remembered it well, because guess who did all the collecting of the leaves? He was a teenager and he got to do it. But that's something that an individual can do. And it helps both their life experience, and it helped the whole neighborhood as well. We did a similar thing when we lived in Paradise, but it was all with our own leaves. We had 25 oak trees in our front yard, and I couldn't even count the ones in the backyard. But so we just collected them all, and fortunately we had a fenced backyard of a chicken coop, and we just threw them all in the backyard of the chicken coop so they couldn't blow away, and they eventually became wonderful compost.
Well, and that's a great metaphor. What is it that needs to be disposed of in a way that actually could be nurturing or feeding? I mean, some of the things we throw away, whether they're good ideas or whether they're things we actually have, we need to take a look at that and say, could I recycle this in a way that is useful? It isn't necessarily something I need to throw away as much as I need to take a second look at it and ask myself, how does it serve me? And I would ask you this week to look at your world, look at your environment, look at the place you live in, and say, how does this serve me? How does this serve the beliefs I have? Does my world, the world that I've created around me, does it encourage me or does it diminish me? And if it encourages you, then you want to do more of that or say thank you. If it's diminishing you, then what can I change in this environment that I'm in that would have me feel more positive or have me have more energy or sleep better at night or do better in my life? Because all of those things cumulatively add up to the quality of life that we're calling now.
Exactly. So it's not only our beliefs it is our beliefs that cause our experience,
Okay.
but those beliefs also can cause us to be miserable. How much do you allow yourself to have fun? How much do you allow yourself to have social interactions? Balance is what we're after here. Balance is the key. So you don't want to stay home all by yourself trying to think positive thoughts. You also need to go out, have fun. You need to interact with people. You need to make a difference however you can in the lives of those around you. And that creates balance and happiness as well. It's not just that you need to stay home and be examining your thoughts all the time.
Actually, probably not a good idea all the time.
Actually, probably not a good idea.
There'll be people who think you're a bit narcissistic.
And not to mention lonely.
Yes. Enough
We are
about you. How
social
about me?
creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are social creatures. We really do need each other. We really are one species, one being. And so we need to be interacting. And some of us in this pandemic have gotten used to staying home, just used to staying in. And I think it's time for us to be getting out and about a bit.
Well, I think we also need to, I've been looking recently, and I don't know if any of you have been doing this, but I've been looking at television because I watch it and noticing that it's important that I put the commercials for pharmaceuticals on mute and the advertisements for lawsuits against the people who tried to kill me on the road, and that'll get me $750 million or whatever. And
If you just go to the right law firm.
if you go to the right law firm, they don't show you the condition your body has to be in order to qualify for that much money. The long-term care facility that you'll be living in for the next 20 years, they don't show any of that. But my point of it is that as I start muting all of those things, I pay attention to the negative input that's creating, because what a lot of that is saying is the world's not safe, you're not safe.
Right.
You're going to need this or you're going to need that. And because of the world being so unsafe for you, and because there's disease lurking everywhere, you better watch this commercial and you need the 7 symptoms or the 7 signs of the next disease you're going to be getting. And what you can, we need, if we can, to filter some of that out, or all of that if we can. And if we can mute that, or not listen to it, or at least realize we're listening to a kind of propaganda that's telling us that we're really not okay, we're not going to be okay, and life is very, very fragile. But tune in, we have another story for you.
And your body doesn't know how to heal itself. When
Yeah.
the truth is, your body does
So,
have all the wisdom.
so when you're hearing that, or when you're reacting to that, think, do I need to have that in my life right now? Can I do something about that? We've gone to some of the commercial programs that we like to watch. We've gone to recording them so we can at least fast forward through the commercials, because what I'm suggesting is the commercials are not just commercials. They're intrusions into our consciousness in a way that really deflates or diminishes us.
Exactly. And I think most of you know that.
Yeah.
And so now, we know it, but we put up with it, is what Bob is saying. And we need to protect ourselves by not even putting up with it. So shall we play music?
No,
Let's end with a prayer. Let's end by knowing the truth. What a concept.
who would have thought of it?
Okay, so let's go within now. Let's go within to that center of our being where we are connected with the God of our understanding, with that all that is. We feel its presence in us. And we know that as we know the truth, it enacts that in our lives.
We know the truth that is like a light and that illumines our whole being. The truth is that we are connected in a divine and amazing way to everything that supports life. So we affirm right here in this prayer that we are supported by life, that we support and are congruent with life and with living well. And we know that living well is both an attitude, a state of mind, and a state of realization that who we are is made perfect, whole, and complete.
And so we choose to examine our beliefs, to upgrade our beliefs, and know that the universe is for us. The universe is for our planet, and we know that everything is unfolding exactly as it should.
For this, we are grateful,
We release,
and we say thank you.
and so it is.
And so it is.
Okay, so I'm going to end the recording.